Where were you in the late 70s? There's a good chance you were hanging out at the Burger Chef.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Retro Pop Planet and welcome back to the penultimate episode of Discontinued Foods. This is my most recent episode, but this actually was the pilot episode that I recorded a couple years ago. Now, all of the footage in this video will be new because that original episode, I made a lot of mistakes. I also wasn't really sure what I wanted this series to be or how I wanted to go about filming these episodes. And because I was hungry in the very first one, I kind of jumped some steps and then I missed some things and I recorded some stuff that didn't get recorded. But Burger Chef is the one that I wanted to do first because it is the chain that I actually miss the most.
It's Incrediburger was the decades-long slogan for this beloved icon of the fast food industry. At its peak, Burger Chef had over 1,000 franchise locations throughout the United States, Canada, and even in Australia.
The Fun Burger with a surprise prize only at Burger Chef.
Established in 1957 in Indianapolis, Indiana by Frank and Donald Thomas as an offshoot of their company, the General Equipment Corporation. In 1954, they had patented a restaurant appliance called the Flame Broiler, which is a conveyor belt driven gas grill primarily used to cook hamburger patties over a gas flame. Having marketed the broiler to various restaurants, including the upstart Florida restaurant called Burger King, the Thomas brothers decided to have a go at rolling out their own restaurants, electing to slowly spread first through rural America. The company was immediately successful and soon became a titan of the fast food burger industry. The company saw rapid growth throughout the 1960s, and their peaked roof buildings were easily recognizable as more Americans were using the nation's highways to roam across the country. The company was purchased by the General Foods Corporation in 1968, and the chain had grown to 600 locations in 39 states.
Burger Chef really started losing ground in the 1970s. They were starting to lose their competitiveness in the franchise wars against McDonald's and Burger King and some of the other rising stars. There really was a glut of fast food.
Burger Chef opened its 1,000th location on August 9th, 1969, and by 1972 it boasted 1,200 restaurants, second only to McDonald's.
So during the 1970s, in order to try to be competitive, they actually changed the logo several times and they changed the building design. Now, by all accounts, this was very confusing to consumers because some Burger Chefs would have the old location layout, others would have the new one, the logos were different. And when people were driving down the highway or cruising down the road, if they were from an area with an older Burger Chef, they may not have stopped in one of the remodeled Burger Chefs because they just didn't recognize it and they might have stopped at a McDonald's instead. And honestly, the remodel was kind of boring. They look like banks and it's really kind of easy to identify. And in some cases, they evolved into different restaurants.
Even though Burger Chef was losing ground to other restaurant groups, they were on the forefront of marketing, especially to children. They recognized that advertising to kids was a strategy unto itself. They created an entire world of characters and promoted them in television advertising, as well as releasing radio-style broadcasts on vinyl. They also created the first Fun Meal promotion, which was exclusively marketed to kids. Each Fun Meal came with a prize inside, a toy and or a game.
Burger Chef introduces Star Wars Fun Meals for your kids.
Teenagers gained the ability to choose how to spend their own money. Many of them chose to work and hang out at fast food joints.
And then in the late 70s, the owners just basically gave up and they decided they no longer wanted to be in the fast food business any longer.
In 1982, General Foods sold the Burger Chef franchise to Amasco, a Canadian company, for $44 million. Notable in that they also owned Hardee's, another fast food burger chain. Instead of continuing the franchises as separate entities, Burger Chef franchise owners were allowed to sell out, and their Burger Chef restaurants were either converted to Hardee's or the buildings were sold to other companies. You'd think that would be the end of the story, but due to several scrappy restaurateurs and a legion of fans, there are a few outposts scattered around the Midwest and East Coast that carry on the spirit of Burger Chef. But let's return to the 1970s.
Welcome back.
I think some of my earliest fast food memories are collecting the vacuum-formed fun meal cars at the Burger Chef on Seawall Boulevard on Galveston Island in Texas. It's been this Benno's restaurant for a long time, and you could see it went through an expansion in the 1970s, but never fully remodeled the 1960s A-frame. I have very hazy memories of both eating inside with various relatives, but also getting it to go. Weirdly enough, this building housing a restaurant called the Fish Place in Texas City was actually closer to where we lived in Lamarck, but I don't remember ever eating here. I'm guessing because it closed before the Galveston location. Speaking of which, I just remember one day not going to Burger Chef, and I hadn't been to one since.
And I've documented it well enough on this channel, but a couple years ago I had a pretty bad ankle fracture, which left me sidelined for a few months. And it gave me a lot of time on my hands to just internet surf. And I'm part of this local group in the Northern Virginia area. It's just a lot of people offering up their yesteryear's memories. And I was really fascinated in this entire thread on Burger Chef. We moved to Virginia in the late 80s and Burger Chef was long gone at that point. I'm not sure how many franchise owners there were in this area, but I know there were quite a few locations. And one day I was following a thread and people were just hot and fast putting their comments in, remember this location, remember this location, remember this location. And again, because I had a lot of time on my hands, I just started logging all of that into a Word document, which eventually I'll get around to putting it into a spreadsheet. And then I started looking them up on Google Maps and writing down the addresses, and then playing the retail archaeology game, which I love, where you look at a modern building that looks old or it looks mid-century, it looks like it's from the 70s, and you try to determine what was it before it was its current iteration. Say you look at a cell phone store or you look at a loan place and you're like, hey, that was a Pizza Hut and it still looks like a Pizza Hut. I love playing that game. But true retail hawks know you can go a lot deeper, which is what I did in my Red Barn video. If you missed that one, I'll link to it at the end because we do the same thing over there. I also started listening to this really great Burger Chef podcast, but I really enjoyed going through the history. And there was someone that called in from Reston, Virginia. They said that the building, which is now a Popeyes, looks unlike any of the other Burger Chefs, and there was some talk about putting it in some sort of historical documentation. I don't know how true that is, but let's go visit that one now. I'm standing outside of a weird little building here in Reston, Virginia, and it says Popeyes there, but believe it or not, this actually opened as a Burger Chef in 1973. Now, I wouldn't have known that unless I listened to the Burger Chef podcast, and this actually came up in one of the episodes. It's a very unique design. It's unlike any of the other Burger Chefs, and that's because this whole area was planned with the same architectural layout. This was designed to be a restaurant, not necessarily Burger Chef, but that's just what it ended up being. When it opened, it had that 1973 General Foods logo that everyone hated. Eventually, this became a Roy Rogers. Also, now it's Popeyes. I don't know how long it's been Popeyes because I've driven down Sunrise Valley Drive here so many times and I've never seen this building. Now, I just did a little walk around inside and I got a soda, but I can't tell if anything original exists here from its time as Burger Chef. I was checking out some of the tile work. You know, even if it was, it would be so old. Also, it could be Roy Rogers, but I have a feeling that this place was completely demoed and constructed into a Popeyes. But it's definitely a cool building and completely unique to any of the other Burger Chefs that are in this area, which are still kind of identifiable. They're the more the late 70s, early 80s version of Burger Chefs, which are eventually converted into Roy Rogers.
Like this one in Springfield, Virginia, which everyone around here talks about and that eventually turned into an Einstein Brothers bagel restaurant. Let me know if you'd like me to do a separate video and I will document as many of the Northern Virginia Burger Chef locations as I'm able.
And shortly after I filmed the video in Reston, I traveled down to Danville, Virginia for a football game. And I had been noticing this Chinese restaurant for years. You know, it looks like a Chinese restaurant. But then the more that I started doing research on Burger Chef, I realized it was a Burger Chef.
All right, I'm now in Danville, Virginia, and I'm down here for a football game. And this building right here came up on roadside architecture, and I've been dying to come check it out because it is an original Burger Chef location from like the 1960s. This is the original open kite, I think is the style. The sign is no longer here, but the open kite sign that used to exist as a Burger Chef is on top of this building. This has been operating as a Chinese restaurant for a number of years and actually has really good reviews. But this most certainly was a Burger Chef, and I have a friend that grew up in the area and he has also confirmed that to me. What's awesome about it is that it either went out of business and never converted in the mid 70s to that more updated model, or it moved. And I'll show you where I think it might have moved to, because there's another building in this parking lot that looks a lot like the mid 70s Burger Chef conversions. We got some dogs barking over here at the animal hospital, but I can't confirm, but this does look like a mid 70s Burger Chef. And it has a drive-through here, or it could be a bank, but it does look a lot like a mid-70s Burger Chef conversion.
Now, recently I was having dinner in the city near my house. I was coming out of the restaurant into the parking lot and just walking around because this is not a shopping center that I go to all that often. And I looked across the boulevard and I saw a building connected to a used car dealership that looked really familiar.
I went home and posted about it on the group page, and it went viral. One older gentleman confirming that it was indeed a Burger Chef that closed sometime in the late 60s or very early 1970s. Around 1976, it turned into a used car dealership and has been one ever since. It closed so long ago that most of the folks on the page didn't even remember it being a Burger Chef. But I went back the next weekend and took these photos. Of course it was. And after almost 60 years, it somehow still has the original kitchen exhaust vents on the roof. To my knowledge, this is the last surviving 60s Googie style building in Northern Virginia. The rest have all been remodeled out of recognition.
And the real crazy thing is, for years, I got my old vehicle serviced right next door, and I would have driven by this building all the time, and it just didn't click for me. I didn't snoop around too much because it was closed, it was a Sunday, and also it seems as if the used car dealership is actually operating from a building next door, and they're no longer using this as a showroom. But when I walked up to the back of the building and I saw the kitchen smokestacks still on the roof after over 50 years, I was shocked because it was where the kitchen would have been, and walking around this, it was quite obvious that this was a Burger Chef. And then it was confirmed that same day by somebody posting in the comments that he ate there all the time.
Open wide, America. Burger Chef's got thick, juicy, terrific burgers for you. 100% all beef. We really work hard to serve them hot and delicious, so you can take them to our works barn and make them taste even better, the way you want them. You're gonna love our burgers.
Open wide, America. You never can forget. You get more to like at Burger Chef.
Burger Chef had two signature burgers, and today we're making one of them, the Big Chef. 2 hamburger patties sandwiched in a soft roll, melty cheese, and topped with shredded lettuce and their special sauce, a variation of tartar sauce. Across several episodes of the Burger Chef podcast, Darren interviewed Ken Coleman, who was an area manager for the chain. According to Ken, prior to 1970 or 71, each restaurant made the sauce in 5-gallon pickle buckets and mixed in store by employees with their own hands. Starting around 1972, the sauce was centralized and delivered to the restaurants in pre-made containers. I've pared down the recipe for one burger but the ingredients are onions, dill pickle relish, Miracle Whip, and Tabasco sauce. While at the store, I also picked up some shredded lettuce, this new Kraft melty cheese, and some buns. In the 1960s, the buns were seedless and the middles were cut in each restaurant. But in the 1970s, the middle was baked separately just for the Big Chef and came with sesame seeds. Now here's the crucial step that sets my version apart from others on YouTube. We're going to Burger King for our meat. BK is one of the only fast food restaurants that flame broil their burgers. And even though they no longer use General Foods branded broilers, their meat is the closest approximation to Burger Chef. It's impossible to replicate the taste of a commercial grade flame broiled burger patty at home because as the grease drips onto the broiler, it creates that unique charred flavor. I'm buying 2 plain hamburgers, and I'll need to reheat them anyway because I live about 20 minutes away from the closest Burger King. Back at home, I'm going to first make the sauce. After 2 tries at making this video, I've got the portions dialed in. 2 tablespoons of Miracle Whip, 1/2 tablespoon of dill relish, a dash of Tabasco, salt and white pepper to taste, and 1 teaspoon of minced white onion. Mix thoroughly and set aside for now. I need to toast up my buns, cutting the underside of a second bottom bun to use as my middle. I'll also need to zap my BK hamburger patties in the microwave to heat them back up, discarding the Burger King buns. Assembly from here is simple. Bottom bun, 1 slice of cheese, burger patty, middle bun, second burger patty, 1 ounce of shredded lettuce. Apply your special Big Chef sauce to the top bun and cue the montage.
Open wide America, you never can forget. You get more to like at Burger Chef.
All right, guys, well, welcome back. Let's not prolong this any further. I'm hungry. Let's get into this and see how we did. All right, because I was setting up my camera equipment, I wrapped it like they probably would have done in the restaurant, but I want to hit the salad first. And you know I love that salad bar. Burger Chef was one of the first companies to pioneer this. All right, now we know that was a good salad. Let me open this thing up. Now, truth be told, because I've made this previously, I already know what to expect. And it's really funny how when you wrap it in foil, it looks just like what you would have gotten at the restaurant, and less so what you have seen in a commercial. It's kind of scattered and weird, but everything is probably really fresh. I like how everything steams together in the foil wrappers, and it just kind of brings all those flavors together. Yo, real talk, that might be the best burger I've made so far on the channel. And it really has to do with the Burger King flame broiler. And that tartar sauce takes it to another level. You could cop out and cheap out and do the Kraft tartar sauce, but I really think you benefit from making it on your own. And there is a reason that Burger Chef was king there for a while. And also why so many people miss it as a fast food option. I know how people in my neighborhood feel about Burger Chef and the loss of the franchise, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Trust me, this is not going to be my first foray back into Burger Chef. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into the menu in future because there's a lot more to explore, and this franchise history is pretty in-depth. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the 1980s. Peace.